blazing, sand shifting fierce. On a thought whip, dust trails we pierce. Zooming past spice fields, echoes of shy Hulu. Dune buggy vibes, ain't missing the mood. Mix the hearkening flow, thrilling secret code. Navigating spice wind, no sweat we decode. Sipping on the melange, visions too trippy. Hallucinations, vivid flights, be slippy. Ornithopter wings, breaking dunes apart. Sky dancing swift like art to heart. Revving those engines, top down we ride. Across the Iraqis night, swinging wide. Ornithopter wings, breaking dunes apart. Sky dancing swift like art to heart. Revving those engines, top down we ride. Ornithopter wings, ornithopter wings. Desert secrets, whispered in the breeze. I tried its legacy, no subterfuge with ease. Hovering above the sands, plot our traces. Top to right, smooth, leave no traces. No traces, no traces. Samurai below, they sense our grind. Speaking the language, rhythms aligned. Flick of a switch, high above we skim. Gravity defied, this trip ain't dim. Dreaming of Channy's call from CH in the night. Spaceships hover, stars give light. Pilots still sharp, no autopilot G. Manual controls, feet we greet. Feet like wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings, breaking dunes apart. Sky dancing swift like art to heart. Revving those engines, top down we ride. Across the Iraqis night, swinging wide. Bene Gesserit secrets, whispered in the breeze. I tried its legacy, no subterfuge with ease. Hovering above the sands, plot our traces. Top to right, smooth, leave no traces. Sandworms below, they sense our grind. Speaking the language, rhythms aligned. Flick of a switch, high above we skim. Gravity defied, this trip ain't dim. Dreaming of Channy's call from CH in the night. Spaceships hover, stars give light. Pilots still sharp, no autopilot G. Manual controls, fate we greet. We greet. Fate we greet. Fate we greet. In the new Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings. Ornithopter wings.
From desert's range,
cloud, fury storms embrace. Demon chant, venom laced. Rebellion, rise, honor in place. Son of the cross, the race, no trace. Command and conquer, mission flame. Fearsome foes, spirits slain. Desert shadows, their death displayed. Nomads of doom, warriors forbade. Dust cloud, fury storms embrace. Demon jet, venom laced. Rebellion, rise, honor in place. Son of the cross, the race, no trace. Command and conquer, mission flame. Fearsome foes, spirits splayed. Desert shadows, their death displayed. Nomads of doom, warriors forbade.
Welcome everyone to our podcast, Spice Blow Radio. I hope you enjoyed the music we presented you so far. I'm not alone today. I've got two beautiful co-hosts today, all browsing from Europe and streaming. Well, we prepared a nice package for all of you. We are going to talk about the recent Dune Awakening Direct 2, about the alternate timeline and religion and spirituality, before we move to more discussions about the server structure and the game world. And maybe at the end, we hope to have a little glimpse what is waiting for us and what's in the future at Gamescom. Yeah, and I hope you enjoy the program. But before we start with all the details, why not introduce our hosts? And we start with a beautiful lady on the lower right. Maybe you can just tell everyone who you are and what your connection with gaming, Funcom, and you maybe is.
Hi, I'm Megan. Been gaming for a long, long time. Started out in the 90s on that 486. I got with Funcom a few years ago via playing Dune. Not Dune, Wishful. I got confused. Conan. I've been playing Conan a long time. And just kind of fell into doing content creation with them. And now that when they announced Dune, I mean, I've just been so excited. I can't even. So that's how we ended up here. It's exciting times.
Yeah, and you have a great channel on YouTube, not just covering Conan, but of course all the lore and interesting news about Dune Awakening. And you may want to check that out as well for That Woman Walking Gaming on YouTube. And now we head to Flaming Mojo, also known as Steven. So maybe you would like to introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Flaming Mojo, otherwise known as Stephen. I've been in gaming for quite a number of years. Mostly actually used to play survival games and MMOs. So along with my love of Dune, it's just like Dune Awakening is just like the perfect game for me. So you probably hear me about the Discord. I'm pretty much a piece of the furniture around there. And yeah, I was invited on to here primarily because I'm the founder of the Awakening Wiki, which is the community wiki that's been set up to... Oh, there it is. Very nice. Yeah, we're just kind of already getting a nice early start in cataloging and getting all the information from the community for the game. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and I'm Andre, and as you can guess by my accent, I'm from Germany. So, and you experienced my late evening English, so pardon that. Yeah, what can I tell about myself? So I'm born in 1983, and with my first Game Boy, I wanted to work in the game industry. I tried really hard, and thought about how could I enter the industry during that time. And it was not very easy, especially in Germany, because many people, like for example, Piranha Bytes, consisted of people like being a self-made man, teaching yourself how to get into the game industry and programming and stuff. There was no option for me, so I looked into testing, for example. So I tested a lot of games, mainly MMOs. I have made several fan sites for MMORPGs. For example, my first one was Ryzen. And with that, I tried to apply for a job at EA and then declined the offer for QA testing position, and started studying because I wanted to have a more secure job, and stayed on a non game industry related sector, but I always try to work with gaming fan sites and covering games throughout the years. And I worked on several games websites and fan sites, German gaming website called Lucky, and I worked as an international reporter and interviewer for Nova Crystallis, which is a very heavy focus on Square Enix games, and I had a Lionhead website back then covering the three mainline Fable games during that time. And my last fan site was about Cyberpunk 2077. With a it was a lot of fun, but very exhausting because my two children were born over the time. So yeah, lots of office time in the late afternoon then, after which we got to bed. And right now, I am the creator or the founder of visitoractive.com, which is essentially covering Dune Awakening. And yeah, I'm pretty new to the Dune universe and got hooked by the first Dune Awakening Direct. And then I decided, okay, let's do a fan site. And that's pretty much what happened. Okay. So maybe we move on to the first big topic we wanted to discuss before, and that's the timeline. So during the Dune Awakening Direct 2, and even before that, during the Summer Game Fest, we got this little timeline diagram here, and I tuned it up a little bit, as you can see, because based on the information, we have the normal movie arc on the upper half of the image, and the path that is followed by the game, which is debranching from the moment when Lady Jessica conceives a child, which is not Paul Atreides, as we know, and which is the complete game changer. And as you can see, the game takes place about like 28 years after that debranching from the main timeline. And that's what we are going to talk about. So what is your impression from the alternate timeline? Because you are much more into the books and the lore of the game. So what can you tell me about your impressions so far?
After you, Megan.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm actually super excited about it because we already know how the books play out. I mean, there's the books have been around. Most of us read the books at some point, and we know that story. We know Paul is, the Lisan al-Gaib. We know he's the Muad'Dib. We know he's the Kwisatz Haderach. And by removing that, now we don't know the story. We don't know what's going to happen. The certainty of a storyline is open now to us. We don't know what's going to happen with humanity, what's going to happen on Arrakis. Will there be a marriage down the road that links the two families together? There's all this uncertainty now that Paul did not have, and that we get to have. And so we get to learn how this story is going to play out. We get to see how the spice impacts the universe in a way that is new to us as players. And so I think opening that up as an option for us was really wise to remove Paul completely. And also from a gameplay standpoint, we don't need 500,000 people running around on the map yelling, "I am Lisan al-Gaib." That would be a bit tiring after a little bit. So we removed that completely from the equation, and I think that's going to open up a lot of, especially for role players, a lot of potentiality for what we can do just playing the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think we're going to be in for a treat, and especially how I think it's a really clever way of just merging what we know about the story, because this isn't, it's not entirely off script in terms of off canon, because this was the original, or at least parts of it were the original Bene Gesserit plan of having Jessica give birth to a daughter and then eventually marrying Fade, and then kind of them having the Kwisatz Haderach. That kind of that gives us an awful lot to play with in terms of sticking really closely to the Dune story without, having to follow the books directly. So yeah, I think it's just a really kind of nice way to do it, but also just you get the butterfly effect on how many different things can happen as a result of that, and not all of them will be kind of intended the way the Bene Gesserit plan. One of the things that I find kind of interesting, and I'm sure we'll touch on it a little bit later, is obviously from the other player videos we've seen, the Bene Gesserit are effectively recruiting us as agents.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't normally do that. They normally kind of, very secretive, and they don't normally have to get prisoners or lowly people on their side. So it kind of opens up the other questions as what else has gone on? Why are they coming to us? It's that kind of scene with Loki. Is that you must be truly desperate if you're coming to me for help. So, yeah, I think it gives Dune fans an awful lot of what we want to see without kind of tying us down to one storyline. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And if you think of one interview with Joel, I guess was mentioning if we could potentially visit Uppsala. That looks a bit strange. Let's move it to another layout. So it's a premiere here, so we got some technical issues, as you can see. Okay, here we are. So Joel mentioned in one interview that we are going to meet a failed Kwisatz Haderach. Do you have any assumptions who that could be?
So they say the one of the game's antagonists, so the villains that we're fighting against, is a failed Kwisatz Haderach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of lore-wise, there's a few, but not any in this specific timeline. Technically, you could use Count Fenring, but then that's kind of it's an interesting thing. Perhaps Fade and Aristin had already been married, and they've had a son who is grown up in this kind of extra tumultuous time where you've got both the Atreides and the Harkonnen fighting on Arrakis, which isn't really the greatest place to grow up, as you can probably imagine. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of comes of that. But honestly, I don't know what to speculate on it. I don't think there's, other than that one, because that's Haderach, unless they bring in something totally off the wall, which we've not seen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think they will.
They mentioned there were a lot of potentials, but they meant potential parent or grandparent at the furthest of the Kwisatz Haderach. They felt they were very, very, very close. I can't think of anybody that would be, that close outside of Paul, and he was unexpected. They expected it would be Paul's child, which that's a whole nother conversation. But, the idea that, were there other potentials that that Funcom has kind of pulled in from the side that we aren't really thinking about? I don't know. That's a really good question.
I would put my money on Fate, maybe because following the predictions or the potential selections by the Bene Gesserit, who knows? But to change the topic a little bit, we are about maybe 8 years after the attack on the Atreides by House Harkonnen, and we are at the moment in a, let's say, Cold War situation with the War of the Assassins. How could you imagine, how could the War of the Assassins play out in a gameplay sense? What are scenarios we could, as players, interact with the game world and the NPCs following the idea of the War of Assassins? For example, in my point of view, I could imagine having small Assassin's Creed elements of it. So you've got a certain agent, you maybe have to stop, you have to follow him, you have to watch his path and maybe plan an attack. I don't know. What are your opinions on that?
I was going to say, in my previous experience with MMOs and RPGs, often when you're having an allegiance thing back and forth, you'll get mission options. Do this for this guy, do this for that guy. If you do for this one, your karma or whatever goes down with that one. And I think it'll be a balance. what I foresee would be a balance of contact missions to, if I want to go more towards the Harkonnen side, I would go run their missions or do things to thwart the Atreides. And I think it'll also balance out when they've talked about the Landsrod with the spice later. I think that'll play probably as big a part as any contract missions. And I'm not sure I understand exactly how the whole spice vote thing, tax thing will go later. But I think it's going to be a combination of individual choices on your end plus your guild leaning one way or another. So it's going to be on a lot of scale to have you impact which way the Cold War leans. I think it'd be cool to find out, can we wiggle back and forth, spend a year over here and then go, we don't like that anymore, and go over there. That'd be cool to me.
I think that could be really interesting. From kind of my kind of speculation on it would be more, like Megan said, you'd have kind of individual kind of missions and you kind of small influence over things, but then a lot of the focus would probably be around guilds and forming minor houses, or hell, even just like doing things for minor houses, because as we know from the lore, the Landsrad has many different houses. Harkonnen and the Atreides and House Carino are some of the main great houses, but they're not all great. There are minor houses as well, and I wonder how they will feature into the game. And if one of the reasons why the Emperor wanted to get rid of Duke Leto is because he was gaining a lot of popularity within the Landsrad and the minor houses kind of backing him. So that's why he was kind of afraid of that kind of coming back against him, the Emperor. So it's interesting because I don't think that the Atreides are going to, we know that they survive the Harkonnen attack, but whether they're in the same state that they were previously is very unlikely. I don't think they can unscathed. So I think in that kind of extra turmoil, the minor houses' allegiances might be a bit more flexible, and then we can get added into that. I would say one of the things I'd really like to see is if you align, say, with the Harkonnen 100%, you could get a really high-value mission from the Atreides to assassinate, be an insider in a way, be a double agent. I think that would be, kind of open us up for some really interesting political subterfuge missions as well. So I'd really like if they kind of lean into that a little bit, because I think a lot of MMOs tend to kind of get stuck in red versus blue, or 2 or 3 solid factions. You pick one and then, that's just it. You've just got a reputation by, got a little flag, and that's all, it's kind of very black and white. You either are that faction or you're not. And that doesn't really kind of represent how Dune works in general. There are many different political plays and forces and betrayals, and I would really like to see how they can influence that in the game.
Yeah.
Because nothing else, if you've got a quest, contract that says it'll reward you 1 million salaries, you'll find some people start to, put a price on their allegiances.
Yeah. And we already know that the game supports working for different or even opposing factions at the same time simultaneously. And you maybe even gain more rewards if you, of course, concentrate on one faction. But as you mentioned, it would be interesting to see if the missions even lean against each other, depending on which faction you want to play out with. Yeah.
One thing that just popped into my head, we know that, the Duke is alive. Duke Leto is alive. That also means the Baron didn't get poisoned. So both houses are at near full strength on Arrakis. So allowing them to duke it out there and allowing the smaller houses to come in and pick at the edges would keep them all very busy and leave House Carino alone. That could be a political play. Could be why in the hints around the smaller houses, you could be bigger if you play your cards right against these two and wear away the edges, because they're both pretty. They're not weak like they were in the real timeline. Could be a thought.
I think also that opens it up, because then that means Peter de Vries, Harkonnen's Twisted Mentat, is still alive, because he dies in that sequence too. And Thufir Hawat also doesn't then get captured by the Harkonnens. So then that's it kind of opens the door for extra characters. I don't think we've heard specifically that the Baron is in the game alive. We know that the Beast Raban is commanding
Yeah.
the forces on Arrakis, but he was always meant to be the governor there.
Yeah, I wouldn't think he's in the game itself, but the idea that as a political power, he's still at full power. He's not, he's not been poisoned. He's not removed from that board the way he would have been, and having to rely so much on his nephews.
Yeah,
Maybe, I don't know.
possible. Who knows?
What are your personal favorite characters you wanted to see alive in the game from the movies or from the books? Personally, I would pick Duncan because I like the character and I would love to see him in game with his personal connection to the Fremen, and he could maybe even somewhat as an NPC work as a guide, or maybe leaving you with some instructions on your way to find the Fremen, or at least supporting you because he is maybe not informed about the mission you've got in secret. But how about you?
Duncan and Gurney. I mean, who doesn't want Duncan and Gurney?
Everyone loves a battle bard.
Oh, of course. And it means at some point, I swear, the world will end if he stands there and says, "I am smiling," because that's the best.
Yeah, no, he's got to. So seeing how you've taken the fun ones, no, I think I'd actually quite like to see Thufir. I think in the movies he didn't appear in the second one, and I think he was criminally underused.
Oh yeah.
Because honestly, what's the name? I think actually share the name. His name's Stephen, isn't it? The actor who plays him. I've forgotten Stephen's surname. I've just noticed a comment that someone said.
I love that.
Yes, Leah Kynes. Yes, absolutely. That'll be really interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they go with if Leah is in it. If they go with the book adaptation where he's a burly man, or the Neva News woman.
I kind of liked the woman. I thought she did a good job of bringing the character. I mean, and I liked her attitude. She was very Fremen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jam. Stephen Finley Henderson. Thank you. That's the name.
But yeah, there's no Mentats. We need more Mentat representation.
Yes,
That's true.
It'll be interesting to see if Piter's in there, because especially if they get Book Piter, because he is like a very, very wry, kind of sarcastic character who likes to live on a knife's edge around the Baron.
At least we got a rap song about Mentats later on the street for Mentat representation. So what about Arista as the sibling we don't know about so far? What is her agenda? What do you think?
You'd assume Bene Gesserit, but you can't tell really. Like there's,
The direct had said that she would probably be trained as Paul would have been. So some Bene Gesserit, some Mentat, some Gurney, some Duncan Idaho. She would have gotten a very similar training, even though she was expected to marry a certain way. So where Paul was expected to take the training and lead, she's expected to marry and produce babies. So that's a very interesting mentality for her. Is she going to follow that? Is she going to do like Paul did and go, nah?
Yeah, and I got the theory that she was even raised on Arrakis. That's just pure speculation. But if you look back at the cinematic story trailer, and there was, of course, hallucination or just a vision of Paul about his mother giving birth to her and holding her in her arms. And the robe she was wearing, the dress, is nearly an exact copy of the dress Lady Jessica wore when she arrived on Arrakis in the movie. And then you have got this sandstorm splashing through the window, raking it behind her. So we could at least assume that she moved to Arrakis earlier and that Arista even grew up on the planet, which, of course, forms a personality and a character in a completely different way compared to Paul, who still calls Caladan as his home planet. So that's maybe even another facet of that.
Yeah, that's a really interesting kind of point. I think it's going to be and you also have to think, was that Ariste or was that Alia? If she does continue then to have the second daughter on Arrakis,
Yeah.
which she might do, in which case then you've got Ariste who'd be 23-ish.
Yeah.
I guess
Or
from inside
is that Ariste having a baby on her own?
oh yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, she's younger. Yeah.
Too many branches of this timeline already. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be definitely an interesting balance to see how they do, because I think I'd imagine Ariste kind of following in the same way, or being represented in a similar way to the Princess Carolyn, especially in the movies, because she's very clearly, she's not just breeding fodder. She's she's a very smart, intelligent, political figure, as it were. She's good enough to be empress by herself, and I have a feeling that they might go in a similar way with Ariste. She's not just there to be a wife. She is a formidable character in her own right, but we've seen so very little at the moment to give us any kind of sense of that. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that character.
Lots of options.
Yeah. Okay, before we move to another topic, let's see if I can bring in the extra media I prepared as a song for us to listen to. Okay, you can see you have got the behind the scenes look here, because I have to choose something from the list here. Sorry, because I couldn't prepare that.
Not the country one, please.
No, it's not the country
Tech happens.
No.
It's this one. You know it.
No one drives you and me. Someone twist and shout. Rhythms make us move. Shawty's got the grooves. Now let's find the groove and proof. We don't need Paul or tri-lights. No. Dancing in the spice fields. Let's go. Spice up the night. And the flow. We don't need no hero. Just so.
We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Move like there's a breeze.
Oh
Oh,
no. Has it gone?
we lost it. No.
Oh,
I wonder if he had tech issues.
Yeah, it's just like a typical way. Right.
Yeah.
So go in a little bit of, a pause, a break, a breather.
Yeah.
Typical tech fashion, when we just kind of start up, it's going. So what do you think so far? We can read all the comments, by the way, across the different platforms.
That's actually pretty handy.
I don't think I've found a single AI voice reading thing that can pronounce Atreides correctly.
No, it's not a standard. There we go.
That was strange. Okay.
Tech happens.
Okay, we are back. And the connection was reestablished. I don't know what happened there. Is everyone still up in the chat? I don't know. Have we lost somebody?
I think we're all here.
And the people are still there as well. I hope so. Okay. So the next topic we got are the Fremen and religion and spirituality. So I've got prepared this little clip here we can talk about. Actually, it was kind of interesting to see how many was shown and not talked about in the last Dune Awakening Direct, like the runes we see here in the background. Yeah, so what are your opinions on that? And the whole idea to have not the Fremen included in the game, possibly at launch?
I think it was a really good move because a lot of people empathize with the Fremen. I think a lot of people see the Fremen as the good guys, so to speak, rising up against their oppressors and things. And we're going to remove that from the equation, at least at the start. And because we would be off-worlders, we're not familiar with the Fremen like a lot of people were. I mean, Paul had to go and study up on things and get the sandwalk wrong, and we would be just as ignorant, if not more so. And so I think dropping us in there and having to kind of, do we find them? Do we find this creepy place with bodies hanging upside down? And you're trying to figure out what is this, and our place in the story, I think, is going to be a really exciting part of the game.
Hmm.
It's creepy, though. It's very creepy.
No, absolutely. I think that, obviously you can't have Dune without the Fremen. They are, part of the fabric of the world. But I kind of feel that the decision to keep them hidden, at least at the start, is kind of, in a way, ripping off the Band-Aid a little bit of people's expectations of the original storyline. Because the original story follows Paul, who, the reason why, Jessica and Paul are accepted into the Fremen at all is because of the centuries of Bene Gesserit's prophesizing and meddling of his coming. And because he doesn't exist here, or to kind of reverse that, if we were playing a game in the original timeline and there was Paul, or God forbid, we, the players, were Paul, people would have that expectation of just being able to walk out onto the desert and be welcomed with open arms by the Fremen, which is fundamentally not what they're about. In the main story, Paul is the exception to that. So I definitely think it's a good decision to kind of really put things into perspective of what Arrakis and the Fremen are really like, because they are deeply religious, deeply isolationist, and xenophobic. Honestly, they don't like anybody from the outer world coming in to invade their sietches because they've had centuries of oppression, mostly from the Imperium, and over the last 80 years, I think, from the Fremen, from the Harkonnen. So, kind of setting that up not only gives us a really good idea and a good sense of the world, it also, kind of spreads things out a bit from a gameplay perspective. You have to, by yourself, learn to survive on Arrakis, which is difficult enough. And if you had the Fremen to teach you how to do things, you'd find it a lot easier, quote unquote. But if you're actually having to, learn the skills to survive just from step zero, then you're actually going to really appreciate water, especially if we are stuck with Chome still suits, because they're not nearly as good as Fremen make. So,
Yeah, I was kind of surprised about the role of the Fremen in the game at launch, because there was an interview with Joel discussing the partnership with Legendary Pictures. And as you know, the game would have originally launched before the last movie or between the movies. And Legendary requested Funcom not to show or to spoil any of the Fremen culture before the release of the second movie. So they did so, and they admitted that they had spent little time on the Fremen development in the game at all. So from my perspective, I was okay with that. I was okay with the Fremen not playing a major part in the game at all. You could plan as a content feature for a post-launch add-on or something like that. And as Joel expressed, it's not normal to see them, and they're going to avoid you at any cost. And you maybe see them as some shadows on a sand dune far away. not touching them at all, and that would be kind of nice. And I was surprised when they made finding the Fremen like the main quest or the main object of the game for you to follow in the story-wise. And honestly, I would have preferred to have been introduced to the Fremen culture, to living Fremen by the Fremen. And we know that we will have the trials of Akal and other things and ways how we learn the life and the customs and festivities of the Fremen during the game. But how? They have never told us how we are going to learn it. Are there people who are familiar with the Fremen showing us? Will we see some kind of documents we can read? Some visions we will have? Because we will talk about in a few minutes. We've got a very special video clip shown during the Dune Awakening, but that's just my personal taste. I because after watching the movie, I was like, oh, it would be cool to go there to get to know with the Fremen culture and to learn it. But just finding the, let's say, dead ruins with some heretics or some cult leaders occupying them is something else. And instead of learning the ways of the Fremen with Fremen alive. Yeah.
I would say
Yeah.
similar. You have two things actually, and Niz puts out quite a good point in the chat. How the Bene Gesserit will still be seeding this prophecy continuously that there is going to be a Liz and Algaib, that the Mahdi is coming to kind of save them. However, obviously they didn't come with Paul, but they're kind of going to be expecting that person to come later. However, we also know that because the Emperor deployed the Sardaukar to the spice fields, that would oppress the Fremen as well as the War of Arrakis, the War of Assassins taking place on. Funnily enough, Princess Evelyn makes a good point in the second movie that religion gets stronger, or faith gets stronger in times of oppression. So it makes sense that the Fremen would hunker down, and they would get more radicalized. And as with any religion or organized kind of community getting radicalized, you'll have splintering and fracturing, which we've already seen. I've forgotten the name of the offshoot cult that we've already been told about. That I saw in the videos there with the
Masquerade. Yeah.
Yes, the Masquerade. So that's one way that the Fremen could have splintered. And then, so I think we could encounter a very different Fremen to the one that we're used to by seeing in the movies, but also because we're coming from an outsider point of view. I think probably the best way that they could introduce us to the Fremen is the same way Duncan finds them when he goes on his out mission first, where he searches for weeks and weeks and weeks and not a trace of them. And then they send out someone to kill him, and they nearly do. That would be like a really proper way to introduce you to the Fremen. I think the only reason he survived is because he nearly killed the Fremen and then basically saved his life afterwards. So they saw honor in that. But
they're very isolationist. I mean, there's a limited amount of resource, limited amount of water, a limited amount of shade, and so they even fight amongst themselves. So when the movies start, they think there's only a few thousand of Fremen left. Even it was much later that they discovered there's actually lots more. So I mean, we wouldn't know that either. We know that as players, we know that they're really good at hiding a few million people somewhere in the rocks, but they don't come together often because there's not enough resource for them to. So they stay isolationist, and we know that they were going to kill Paul, just because he was too old to train, and so they're like. And the idea that you're blind, you go off and die. You can't take care of yourself, go off and die. If you can't keep up, go off and die. So getting them to respect you. They were not. I mean, Gurney was probably and Duncan, Idaho would be able to earn their respect. I'm not Gurney, and I'm not Duncan, and so I don't know if I'd want to run into them right off because they would not appreciate my company.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to survive long enough to meet them if you don't learn the ways of the desert first.
Exactly. So I think the running the gauntlet of the trials hopefully will lead us that way. But we wouldn't be ready. We aren't the Kwisatz Haderach. We aren't that leader. So they're going to be very suspicious of us. So I think holding that back as a play tactic, I think was very wise of Funcom to do for us.
Yeah, and equally making us agents of the Bene Gesserit, as willingly or unwillingly as we might be. Because we are sent there. The reason that we are released from prison and thrown onto Arrakis is to find the Fremen. So then, eventually, if and when we do, then we've got a choice as players to come along and make. Like, do we support the Fremen cause and help them, or do we kill them, or do we report back to the Bene Gesserit? That kind of leaves a lot of choices open to the player there. It's not just a quest that you go and find, just go find this, MacGuffin and take it back to the quest giver and get a reward. It has deeper implications there.
Yeah.
It's very Dune-y. I quite like.
Very political. Very political.
I just hope that the interactions with the Fremen gradually increase the longer you play, and let's say in the end game you make the first bonds or maybe interactions with them, and then leading up to post-launch content where we can expect that the Fremen will be added as a third major faction with potentially sandworms later on. But I guess it was hinted that the Fremen could be the next faction to appear post-launch, and I'm excited for that.
It gives us, as guilds, it gives us the kind of choice, or opens up the opportunity for Funcom to give us the choice, whether we go down the Harkonnen or Imperial route of just squashing them out, or trying to and probably failing, or going the Atreides route and wanting to harness desert power and align with them. However, that does come with sacrifices and a big culture clash, because they will only do certain things certain ways.
To harness them, though, you have to be the Kwisatz Haderach. Otherwise, you're not going to get them. Because even Paul standing up there as a respected leader, with them saying, he's been beating back the Harkonnen. That was not enough. He had to be the Lisan al-Gaib to unify them. Otherwise, they were going to throw him off the rock. And so we might run into a few individuals, maybe. We might run into a war chief here or there, but I don't see them being a unified thing, because the Fremen on their own weren't unified. They were very, it's always about the strong man on top, and you can only have so many strong men on the rock before you run out of men. So they separate. I think I'm use your cutlery to free them.
Like frozen Fremen, like
frozen Fremen. But the future content down the road, I think that having a contact here or there would be pretty awesome, and I think that's a good way to include their culture and increase content for us to play.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, as you showed the video of the temples and the various stages of forgotten or left alone. You've got some bits that are very kind of weathered, carved into the rocks, and then you've got some inner temples that the whole walls are lined with carvings, and I definitely think that kind of like starts to give us a feeling that this is their world. They live here. You see, I think it's just after this basin here. So this is obviously an active use. I'm going to say siege or abandoned facility. It's quite square. It looks quite a lot like Siege Tower. And then we've got these more open temples and the kind of more forgotten things. I think that's that last kind of shot where it's a weathered rock outside. That's probably what we'll just be walking past, and not even unless you actually look, you don't even notice it. Like those, you just start to see wall carvings around. I think that's going to be really interesting to kind of see. Just as part of the world, stuff that you don't even notice, but the Fremen are there. I think I'm most looking forward to seeing how their technology is represented in the game, because they are not like savages as the Imperium thinks they are. They have quite advanced technologies, especially when it comes to getting blood and getting water out of literally everything, including stones. and bodies and such, as well as paracompasses, sand compactors, and still tents and such. So it'll be really interesting to see those technologies kind of become available to us in the game, because they're not going to be taught how to use them. And we already know that the Imperium has very little actual working knowledge of these things. It's like trying to learn how to build a car bus by giving a manual. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it, and seeing how religion plays in, just in general, whether we have to engage in rituals, to earn their trust.
Yeah, which is leading to this kind of clip we have seen during the Dune Awakening Direct 2, which is really trippy. I mean, like,
It's
we
very
have seen, like,
trippy.
multiple lands with runes and rocks like flying through the air. No
Eyeballs.
place.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a whole lot of what on earth.
yeah. I think this is probably when you are high off your gourd. But you
As
see,
we should be.
those are 3 interesting monuments there. You got a worm on the right, someone in a still suit, a Messiah looking figure, and then a hawk or a bat on the left.
I thought it was a bird, like a hawk.
Yeah, because they use
Or
both
a spice blow.
bats. But then what could those mean? I think, it's just like, what? Especially you just got a crashed spaceship here, which looks very out of place with the green lighting.
Yeah, this one here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because that looks like a spaceship. I think Niz points out that this could be the Trials of Ackle.
Yep. Drugs, not even once.
No, definitely. The Trial of Ackle is the Fremen test of reasoning, or the Fremen test of reason, and you can reason that this is bat crap insane. Where it goes from there, a bit more
Yeah.
work out. Oh,
There's a little part of me going jumping puzzle, and that scares me, but it's very trippy.
The only problem with that, so Niz has said Atreides, Fremen, Harkonnen. That would mean Harkonnen's the worm, and Shai-Hulud and their gods. I don't think that's...
No.
So what is your impression how the Bene Gesserit fit in here and their interest in finding the Fremen?
Spice. They want it, they need it. It's part of their rituals to create the Reverend Mother. So they need that to perpetuate their plan to create the Kwisatz Haderach. They need that spice. They need the water of life to continue their manipulations.
Control. Honestly, I think having an army that has a whole civilization of people that have been suppressed and born and bred to be amazing fighters and survivalists, is existing in the same place as you source the most powerful substance in the universe, of which all of the economy and space travel is around. If as has always been said, spice is power, and he who controls Arrakis controls the universe. The easiest way for the Bene Gesserit to control Arrakis is by the Fremen. They are under no uncertain terms that the Landsraad and the regular politics of the Imperium is not going to be the way to... they're never going to be able to subjugate the Fremen. The Fremen exist more than just a people. They are an idea of kind of being in tune with the planet and having total kind of freedom away from the kind of external force of the world, which has such a level of power unique to Arrakis that anything coming from the outside just won't work. They can't even have the shields without being eaten by the worms, and yet the Fremen just ride the worms.
The only group that's been able to interact regularly with the Fremen is the Bene Gesserit. Everyone else has been shunned as outsiders, but the Sayadina are so integrated into the Fremen culture, you can't separate the two.
Yeah.
So the Bene Gesserit have their hooks deep into the spice that way.
Yeah, plans measured in centuries. It's not just a quick play, oh, we're going to control Arrakis. No, they control the Fremen to control Arrakis.
Oh, yeah.
They're one and the same.
Something I kind of find interesting is that one of the major colors when advertising the game is purple or lila, I would say. And it is shown in the backgrounds. It's sometimes shown as a decoration. And in contrast to that, it's interesting to see how that color is used within the game. And we see that color on the Bene Gesserit, and we see that color in the Spice Blows, for example. And we can see it, for example, if you look at the Fremen ruins we've seen before, that round-shaped ring-mouthed sandworms we can see. It's also represented here. So there's even like color connection between spice sandworms and the Bene Gesserit somehow, which is kind of interesting to me because it's more like an unusual color for Dune.
The deep purple color is unrefined spice. So that's what comes out of the ground. That's in Spice Blows. And then when you refine it, it becomes orange. So you'll see a lot of the purple and orange because of that. It is spice in itself. And then you get spice gas, which is also orangey. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that's spice paint and spice infused into those awnings up there. Spice is the most valuable substance in the universe, except on Arrakis, where they just have it and they can give it to the Outlanders because it means a lot more to them.
Was it the miniseries when they were first picked up by the Fremen and they were given their little sticks to eat? And Paul's like, "What is this?" And Shawnee's like, "It's spice. We don't have any of that fancy food here." And it's like, you're literally eating the most valuable thing in the universe, and it's nothing to you. And the look on his face registered that. He's like, "Do you not? It doesn't matter. It's just food to them. We're just gonna eat the spice." It's like the universe runs on this stuff. You know that, right?
Yeah, the Fremen even use that to their advantage. At least in the books, they pay off. They pay off Chom to basically they give via Liet Kynes. They give spice to Liet. He gives it then to either scavengers or to Chom directly, and then they keep satellites away from the whole southern hemisphere of Arrakis because it's so cheap to them to just bribe. Do bribes at the time. So it isn't just, especially with characters like Liet, which it makes them a really interesting character to see in the game, as that kind of connection between the Imperium and the Fremen. But assuming that, assuming that the Fremen are missing, that would probably mean that Liet is either outside of the Fremen now somehow, despite being their knave, or Liet's gone too. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Okay, as I already said, and the next music song is coming up. We've talked about religion and spirituality. The Mentats are maybe not that religious, but they have their own philosophies and the introspective they use for the strategies. So I prepared another song. And it would have been in place if the Restream software wouldn't have problems, but I still find it. So here we go.
There you go. Can I be right back then? Right. See you in a second, everyone.
In the Dune's wisdom planet, mentat tricks, quick witted calculations, multitasking, their minds never quitting. Superiority supremely ahead while they're sitting. Enemies play checkers, we playing quantum blitzes. Eyes roll back, thoughts spreading like a highlighter. Processor so sharp they cut finer than a rocket spice fighter. Decode the universe, every heart rate, every breath. Timer, all enemies stuck in mud, mentats move like deserts, quiet piner. In the mentat mind, 10 steps ahead. While the foe lies blind, calculations bled. Every move we grind, strategy thread. Enemy left behind, their hope long dead. Intuition on steroids, thoughts stitched by menthol. Cortex cool on overload, they conduct cerebral symphonies all night long. Binary beats sync, making logic tangle strong. Predictions so precise, outcomes where foes go wrong. Omniscient glare, silhouettes in the mirage. Competitors in despair, stuck in their sabotage. Mentats craft when enemies break down at large. Tactical spawn and spin, strategies in charge. In the mentat mind, 10 steps ahead. While the foe lies blind, calculations bled. Every move we grind, strategy thread. Enemy left behind, their hope long dead.
Whoa.
That's too
And
darn
we are
catchy.
back. So the next thing we could talk about was just a little update from the last Dead, I like to call it still, and Summer Game Fest, so the character creation. What were your impressions so far on the character creation? Because from my point of view, I could spend hours on it. I know it already, and I wish we could have access to it before the launch. That would be great. So you can play around with it, save it, and then start with a character you invested in a month before, but it's hard to pull that off, I guess.
Totally. That's
Yeah, so it's going to be really interesting to see the kind of. I mean, we've already seen some of those sliders. There are dozens of those sliders already.
oh yeah.
It looks really cool. I honestly just wonder how many people are going to make either Paul Atreides or Fade, just bold Elvis.
I think there's going to be a lot of that. There's going to be a lot of gurneys. There's going to. I mean, we're going to see how many Duncan Idahos. We're going to see many variations of. See, there's a Harkonnen right there. I think we're going to see a lot of exciting stuff, and I'm body types, heights, leg and arm thickness. There's a slider for
Scar
everything.
age or tattoo wearing off. That's really interesting to see as well, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
I think we've
also-
seen some characters that have like face tattoos and arm tattoos, which are really quite interesting.
One of the trailers had the guy flying the Thopter who had a face tattoo.
Yeah. And we know that we have some kind of new beginning experience just starting after the character creation and landing on Arrakis. So you've got like a good guidance for people who are not familiar with survival games, which is quite nice to know. And yeah, we know that we have no healer class per se to choose from, which is not a big surprise, but we've got the down but not dead status we still can get on our feet from, and yeah, who knows if they kind of somehow introduce it later on as a skill, maybe in the tree to unlock later on, but I can live with that, honestly.
I think it'll be
I can remember.
Agamemnon, of course. I think it'll be really good. One of the things that we've been told about so far is the skill tree. Even though it might take a lot of effort and a lot of time, you can attain the full skill tree. You know, it's not like you're subject to just one path or another. You have a starting trainer, and then a starting mentor, of which that gives you a starting tree, and then you meet trainers out in the world, and you can learn all of the different branches. Basically, once you've done something for the trainer in some way or another, then that unlocks your other trees. But yeah, by the end of the game, after a lot of time and effort, you can unlock all of them, but you can only choose 3 active abilities and 3 passive abilities at one time. So that's going to make that build really interesting to see. Kind of mix and matching between, we know the Swordmaster, Mentat, Bene Gesserit, Trooper, and Planetologist trees. I think that's it, yeah.
And one mention on the chat was, yes, you can craft healing wraps you can use, of course, and use water to get on your feet as well. And what I kind of find interesting is that each of the factions have their own trainers or mentors as well, and it would be interesting to see that if it's just their version of a, let's say, standard mentor, or if you have like really faction specific skills you can unlock, like depending on if you work for Harkonnen or Atreides, which would be interesting and make the game more diverse and challenging.
That could be interesting. I mean, when you think about like the Bene Gesserit seem to be favoring. I say that in the trailer we saw, Jessica is a truth sayer, and she's training her daughter in the ways of the Bene Gesserit. So there's a vibe that the Bene Gesserit don't favor anybody, but they're in the house.
Mm-hmm.
We know from the movies that the Mentats were also with the Harkonnen. They like that cold. There's something cold about Mentats. It just seemed like they're not warm and fuzzy, and they don't care.
What are you talking
Happy
about?
Brothers.
Tucker is a lovely man. He's got an umbrella. Not like a man with an umbrella. He's soft and cuddly.
Some of them I'm sure are lovely, but there's a vibe with the previous story. I could be wrong. You're the lore guy.
They
But
are human machines, or
They are.
human computers.
yeah.
10 steps ahead.
Sometimes more one than the other. Yeah.
So to find maybe how specific missions that could be very interesting. That's an interesting take.
Okay. Anything you would like to add on the character creator? Some people blamed the characters they've seen in the character creator for not being up to, let's say, Unreal Engine 5 standard, but of course people have to imagine that this is an MMO game and there's kind of a high data load and server load in contrast to, for example, the models you're using here, and maybe something like MetaHuman. MetaHuman, of course, for Unreal Engine 5 is really impressive, but I'm totally fine with the characters and the character models they've shown so far, and like the idea that they use maybe the updates from Unreal Engine 5 mainly on everything we see except our own character.
Yeah.
This is still beta for one, and two. Let's be real; they're going to be wearing armor anyway, and their face is going to be covered up anyway.
Yeah.
So while on one hand, I will totally spend hours in a good character creator, on the other hand, you're not going to get to see them anyway. So, I mean, there's a balance of what you're saying. Too much stuff on the server load when you got 400 people there, but their tattoos, it adds. But we're all going to be wearing armor anyway.
Yeah, that being said, they have talked about one of the reasons why they wanted a third-person game is because you spend all the time creating your character, and then to just, well, if you're in a first-person game like a Cyberpunk, you don't see any of it unless you're in a cutscene. In which case, you've normally forgotten what you're wearing at any point. You get the most hilarious cutscenes where you're just like, oh god, that's what I look like. But now having that kind of third-person view, even though you'll probably be seeing the back of your head quite a lot. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of say. I think Dune, especially one of those, it's one of those sci-fi series that doesn't have aliens, and I think obviously we've got the sandworm and creatures on Arrakis, but not really sentient alien races. They're all just branches and evolutions of humans. Of which time and stresses have changed people, which I think kind of makes it, brings it down an awful lot, kind of grounds things, rather than having kind of mystical floating things most of the time, unless you're in the Spice Vision. Things have purpose, things have reason, and I definitely think that's going to feature into how people create their characters, because one of the core pillars of the game is expression. And they definitely want to give people the tools to allow them to express themselves through their characters. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see what people do, and all of the many different Mr. Beans that they always come up with. You've seen them in Fallout 4 and such, the horrific monstrosities that people have created, but we get to see them wandering around on the sands and getting eaten by worms. So.
And the creative freedom, of course, is somehow limited. You can't have like a pink-skinned guy with greenish hair and being 3 meters tall, which is totally fine, and having a leopard skin on your tank, maybe. I don't know. But it's good. It's good, the freedom and the selections we've got so far. And I like the idea that they included the origin you could pick, which offers you not just unique emotes. I'm really looking forward to that. What kind of unique emotes you can use in the game, how it looks like, but also the option to have different dialogues. And while I don't expect the dialogue system to have a really deep impact on the gameplay at all, I'm really looking forward to how certain encounters and dialogues play out differently, just depending on what kind of background and history you have got. Yeah. Good. Okay, let's move to the next topic. And before we do that, there's a small break.
Oh no.
Oh no, and it's your
drinking.
favorite. Steven, it's the country song.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh Lord. Let your guitars out. Here it comes. Just in a second, because
Enjoy
again, I've got issues with that here, but now we got it.
Hotter than a Texas barbecue, but the desert sun is beating down on you. Just a man with boots and a white-brimmed hat, trying to find water, ain't no map. Beneath dunes taller than a city block, you ask a sandworm if it wants to talk, but all you get is a big old hiss. Guess hydration's ain't on their list. I'm drinking sand in rackets, can't find water, gotta practice. With a still suit on, I'm feeling dandy. Spice in my cup, but no sweet candy. Met a friend with a crystal blue gaze, said we save our tears, it's just our way. Offered him a Coke, but he just laughed. Said here, we recycle every drop we stashed. I'm drinking sand in rackets, can't find water, gotta practice. With a still suit on, I'm feeling dandy. Spice in my cup, but no sweet candy. My throat is dry as a desert bone, wishing I was back in my sweet home. But in this wasteland, survival's key. Hope I don't end up a worm Fiji. I'm drinking sand in rackets, can't find water, gotta practice. With a still suit on, I'm feeling dandy. Spice in my cup, but no sweet candy. I'm drinking sand in rackets, can't find water, gotta practice. With a still suit on, I'm feeling dandy. Spice in my cup, but no sweet candy.
The Englishman's not
My
digging the
throat
country.
is dry as a desert bone, wishing I was back in my sweet home. But in this wasteland, survival's key. Hope I don't end up a worm Fiji.
Runs Frosty Flaky on the Discord. Yes, it is live streamed.
It is. We try our best to do.
Oh, 5-second delay to it.
And so before we move to the next topic, if you guys want to have your guild represented in our live stream, don't fear. Just drop us an email on, for example, hello@arrakis.com, or just talk to anyone who's part of the stream, and we might give you a chance to be featured on our stream, and we do so. Just oops, that's interesting to see that right now.
Lean.
We will do so with another clip that was prepared, but sadly, it is not in.
It's not cooperating.
No, it's not. It wasn't. No,
These
it's.
thinking
That's okay.
machines. This is why we had the Butlerian Jihad. I trust them.
Let's just find it in the right
Right.
direction, and here we go.
Easy, and you need all the help you can get. So why not join the Highwalls Corporation? To join, go to join.highwalls.community.
And that's it.
Excuse me.
Bless you. So the
Sorry.
next topic, ladies and gentlemen, server structure and overland map. Wow.
I love this graphic so much.
Yes.
It's so clean.
It could be a screensaver. Yeah. So, which is really interesting to see the way the overland map works, and yeah, what are your impressions? What are the advantages and disadvantages of a server structure like this?
I think it's going to give us the hope is we won't have a lot of loading screens in between spaces in the basin by splitting the basin up into, I guess, shards, for lack of a better term. I'm not the tech person, but it'll reduce load times. One thing that Conan had that was a problem is they had a bajillion servers, and then it got to where you'd only have 2 people on a server, and after a bit, especially the PvPers are like, where is everybody? So you condense them down, and people lose stuff. But by allowing some flexibility, and we've got 40 players to start a server, well, then it kind of comes and goes, and it's going to ease the load, I think, as far as everybody having big buildings, because there's always going to be people who build too big, and moving the bulk of the PvP to the deep desert will keep. No one's going to be building there because it wipes every week. So I think it's going to keep a nice balance of latency and lag and playability without the loading screens, and it's going to make it, I think, a smoother experience. I'm hoping.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's a really interesting technical solution to several of the gameplay problems that you have with crafting a survival game with base building, because you can either go down the route of player housing, which is usually just you have your own little instance and you invite people to it. It was hilarious in World of Warcraft when they did that with the Warlords of Draenor, and you say, oh, you can build your own base, and you just get template plots that you can put in things, and you're just alone by yourself, and it's quite isolating. Other to the other end of it, where it's fully open, and you've got Minecraft, where this 20 miles around the spawn center of any large Minecraft server is just these little huts and really ugly buildings all around.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of hits that good balance, especially in terms of base building, where you can have still quite a few. It can still feel alive. You've got many people there, but equally they've kind of tempered the expectation where you're not going to be seeing absolutely everyone in the same place, which causes the lag and causes a lot of the issues. But also from the actual gameplay in terms of PvE and PvP, you start in Hagar Basin, and that's where your safe home base is. You will see other people there, and you can play with them, but when it comes to later end game, where you've got ornithopters, you've got guilds, and you've got kind of you're setting up supply lines, everybody meets in the deep desert, where you need to gather in large quantities the kind of resources. So it means that you're not going to get, rather than having full open PvP, where you get people spawn camping or hanging around the low level areas to kill new people. You can only really do that in a few zones within Hagar. but once you get to the deep desert, it kind of acts as an automatic, kind of gateway in terms of this is the deep desert. Everyone knows what it is, what it's about, and you already have to have a certain level of progression in the game in order to get there anyway. So everyone's kind of on a much more level playing field there. So I think that just in terms of the player experience is a lot better. It gives a lot of opportunities for that. And also having an overworld map where you can visually see all these different maps in a world. It allows Funcom the ability to expand things further. We're only seeing roughly the shield wall area, which is just in the north of Arrakis, and about 20% of the planet. They could expand that map outwards, to kind of add new areas without having to kind of retcon or move things around in the old areas of the game, which is something especially World of Warcraft suffered with. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting way of doing it, and also quite honest. People always kind of think that MMOs, World of Warcraft has 12, 16 million players at peak. You never saw that many. Under the hood, they had sharding, so at most you'd only ever see 40, 50, 100 people in your view. Everything else is invisibly sharded away. So kind of being more open and honest about those numbers would be really, is a really kind of nice way of doing it, although it sets some poor expectations for some people who just think it's a Conan reskin, which is going to be difficult for them to escape from anyway, but I think they did it pretty well so far. I'm wondering what you think those question marks are on the side, because we know Joel has name dropped at least one of them previously.
He hinted at the possibility someday, maybe, of one of the polar caps.
Yep.
So maybe.
So
and the more, as far as I remember, the more like Arizona-style desert parts, which seem to be more meant for later parts of the game, seemingly not accessible right from the start, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And and what I like about the Overland map is the fact that because of the books, the world design is already determined somehow. It's not up to the total freedom of the developers to lay out the world map, because of the books we already know where certain areas should be, and using the overland map allows them to focus more on interesting spots we could visit without like paving the way up to it, because usually when you've got classic MMOs and they open up another area of the game world, you usually just have them back to back each other, so you can just move across to the new map. And flying out to a completely different part of the world also allows them to use more manpower to get those areas more detailed, and without like developing all the space in between, which is kind of an advantage as well, I guess. And and it has a retro vibe to it. If I think of, for example, Final Fantasy games, and if you've got the Overland map, and somehow it reminds me of that as well.
Yeah. I wonder if you zoom in a little bit. This will be interesting, because this is the Overland is a map that you control. The little guy. It's not a loading screen, as we've been told. You can even meet other people on it, apparently. If you get it, because it makes you wonder how, if you just go to the edge of a map, if you're in Haga Basin and you're in a monotop, you just fly to the edge of the map. Is it all edges? It looks like it.
It's got four edges.
It's got a bunch of different things in it.
Yeah.
Niz brought up one of the things about Carthag. Joel has said previously in the Discord, name dropped Neo Carthag, which doesn't exist in the lore. We just have Carthag, which is like the second capital of Arrakis. Why have a new one? That's going to be an interesting question to ask.
The other was destroyed in the war, as mentioned in the interview, as far as I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they built up new Carthage with the help of enslaved people from the cities around there. Yeah.
I believe that's
So-
where at some point they say, we are originally meant to be sent to, where the life expectancy is measured in weeks. I think it's
Days.
days. That's it. Lucky
Yeah.
past a week in Neo Carthage. So I'm willing to bet that one of those question marks might be that.
Yeah. What I assume it's just a construction area where they're building up the new city. Yeah. Not a place like completely built up. That's why we got like Harko Village as the main Harkonnen hub so far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the disadvantages I could think of is it kind of sounds more difficult to maybe get access to your guild base or guild house, for example, because I could imagine if you have 40 people from different versions of Haga basing all meeting up in one guild place, switching the different versions of Haga basing sounds kind of strange to me so far.
So from what we know, once you've kind of got your instance, once you create your character in an instance of Haga Basin, that's it. You can only ever visit that one. So when you go into the deep desert, you can meet people from other instances of Haga. But then when you travel back on that map, you get put into your back instance again, your home.
That way, they don't do like Fallout 76, where you log in and where's your house? Well, you're on a different shard now, and your house is gone because someone else built there.
Yeah,
That
no,
would
it's like
suck.
It sounds like strange if you want to have like a mage HQ for your guild. So where is it located? Which house is it? Who?
Well, we know.
Oh.
Well, we only recently heard that the guild, there will be a guild cap. Or they're thinking about a guild cap.
Yeah.
In terms of design, it won't be massive, so it's likely that your whole guild will be able to fit into one of the instances. Obviously, for larger guilds, they have to then coordinate on how they're going to work around that.
Worst case, you build every week in the deep desert and just rebuild a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine that the general flow for especially like high-end guilds will be to have multiple, have a presence in multiple instances of Haga, and then kind of set up one singular supply base in the deep desert, because it's got a PvE only strip where you enter the deep desert. So that's a kind of safe zone, and then you above that it is just pure PvP. So you'd have a lot of people going out to mine spice and resources into the deep desert, come back to that home base, and then you sort it out into which guild safe zones you're going to be going back to.
Use it as that
gets wiped every week.
A forward operating base, and then you disperse out to the smaller chapter houses, maybe.
Yeah, and I could also imagine that it's maybe harder to find people to play with in the deep desert, coming from that different versions of Haga Basin, where it's just open to mechanics like search and filters and chats, global chats, world chats. I could imagine to find people to play with in the deep desert, because you've got like one shared community or one player pool in the deep desert, and then the separate ones from different versions of the Haga Basin. We will see. I'm interested in that. And people are in the chat are also interested in the instance places which are opened up when you, for example, run out of fuel on your travel, and you land in that small space where you have to gather resources to continue traveling. I'm going to be interested in that as well, which is maybe just randomly generated map of a certain size, I assume.
Lots of questions on the tech side.
Yeah. I think, I would probably say that try to keep things simple as they can. They've got it's ambitious enough as it is, rather than have to add a bunch of extra complications to things. But difficult to say.
So talking about the ecology labs as somehow dungeon in the game, we also got the update from Summer Game Fest that they are not instance, or at least we got like ecology labs which are not instanced. I don't know if they are going to instance some of them as well, but they are uninstance versions of the ecology labs where it's full PvP, and the ecology lab is just built into the world around. For example, Haga Rift was mentioned as an example of an area we've got full PvP and then an ecology lab embedded in that. What is your opinion on that?
Lore guy. That's, um, I'm not sure what they've said about exact locations. I think not instancing spaces will make load times faster. Every time you have to load, it just creates irritation at the very least. As far as PvP spots, I like the idea of small PvP spots where you can get better stuff. I like the fact that you don't have to do the PvP if you're in Haga Basin. You can get stuff elsewhere, just not as easy or not in the quantity. You might have to pay cash for it, in-game cash, or you have to go grind harder for it. As far as I like the idea that you have the option for little bits of PvP. You don't have to go hardcore if you just want to pop into one of the little spaces and do that and get out. And I don't know how it's going to be with Dune. I know my experience with City of Heroes, they had PvP zones that were City of Heroes, City of Villains, cross zones. And oftentimes there was stuff you could only get there, buffs or pets or things. And so we would load up and we would go to the PvP zone to go get the thing, and we'd see someone from the opposition side, and everybody would just like wave and go do our thing and get out. We're not there to PvP. We're there to get the goodies. You get your goodies, I get my goodies, and we leave. And I like the idea that option hopefully will be there, that everybody's not there for the hardcore PvP. It's not my cup of tea. So I'm excited to see what the community does with those zones.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think it'll be really fun to do a little community thing of building an arena in those zones. And you just have, like a proper triangle Harkonnen arena. And just kind of have like an organized PvP tournament. That would be really fun. Who knows what would happen? Dune Awakening isn't focusing on those hardcore PvP players at all. So it's there will be open PvP for them. So they're not going to be totally left out. There's going to be stuff, game content for them to do, but it's not fully tailored towards them like full open, full loop PvP games such as Rust and such.
Yeah. This isn't going to be battle royale. It's going to have some PvP, but that's not the focus.
Yeah, it's not going to be like an RPG quest-driven thing either. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. There's a lot of very new stuff.
Okay, so the next chapter we are going to talk about is Hako Village. What is your impression of Hako Village so far? I really liked that, and I'm really looking forward to Hako Village being more like a tower and looking down on the desert from the above. And I don't know, they already like spoiled or teased that in a certain screenshot with I don't remember, with like ornithopters landing on some kind of tower or formation on top of on something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was the thing that was meant to be in Haga Basin. Or could have been the deep desert. Just kind of landing on a little. Was that a player-made building? Because from what we've seen of Hako Villages, it's quite dark.
Yeah, the only thing I remember from Hako Village is what looks like a really kick-ass nightclub with the whale skeleton in it.
Yeah, the Beyondax whale, presumably.
Yeah, that one there. So it looks quite dark, quite dank. It's got like traders, vendors there. Some of there's not. We've got shoes on. Barbaric.
That'd be uncomfortable.
Yeah, a lot of and of course the Kulon.
Yeah, I'm a real fan of the Kulon, and I'm really looking to more fauna in the game. There's not much, maybe given from the books, but yeah, I hope so. We've got more animals to come across.
That looks like the Chome logo that we've seen on armor before. So the orange-suited guys there, those are Chome soldiers, as we've seen from the fan art one. So that looks like the bank or a trading hall of some sort.
Actually, the armor design I like least, to be honest. I love the Harkonnen armors, especially in terms of the screenshots they showed from Summer Game Fest. That's really cool looking with that more like bug or insect influence on them, with the glowing eyes in the dark. That's really cool. Yeah, the Chom are more. I would say the policeman outfit more in terms of my personal impression. Yeah.
I think this looks like a Samuta, I think it's called. I say it's the drug that they have. The half drug, half dance. SEMUTA, I think it's called in the lore. Basically, I think it's what makes up that rave club. It'll be really interesting if that becomes a thing. Because then you can just end up dancing.
It's going to be exciting, I think, just to, as a place to mix. The for RP, the clubs are always the place to be. If there's a bank or trading hubs, I mean, that generates interest in going to visit. There needs to be a reason to load up a thopter and cut across the desert when there's risk. So I'm excited to see what they do with the non-fighty side of the MMO.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before we move on to the next topic, I like to have a little announcement. We want to give away. Oops, no, that's you. Have myself next month. Okay, here we've got a little giveaway with a little Baron Harkonnen to give around the chat. I hope we find the right people to meet up for all the details about the person who has won and who's honest. And we got the quiz question just after another music song, or two, to be honest, before we move to the last topic for today, which is the lookout to what's going to come at Gamescom. And here's the next music.
In the best of America, I find my space. Sip the spice of Maracas, feel the bass. No fear in my soul, no sandworms to see. Ornithopters flying high, just you and me. The sun is shining bright, silence all around. In my base, I relax, feet firm on the ground. No fear in my soul, no sandstones to fight. Ornithopters passing by, everything's alright. Spice in my veins, ease in my heart. Desert blues just fade right from the start. No fear in my soul, no sandworms to see. Ornithopters flying high, just you and me. The sun is shining bright, silence all around. In my base, I relax, feet firm on the ground. No fear in my soul, no sandstones to fight. Ornithopters passing by, everything's alright. Spice in my veins, ease in my heart. Desert blues just fade right from the start. No fear in my soul, no sandworms to see. Ornithopters flying high, just you and me. Just you and me.
feeling kinda sly. Battle skills may be lacking, but he's fly. So fly on the desert sands where the spice flows free. But it's the dance floor where he finds his destiny. Check it. All the beautiful, the Baron's got the moves. Watch him gliding and grooving in his funky grooves. No need for armor when you got style this tight. Just a disco ball and the neon lights. The dance of harkening. Trance, and never be outshone. In the heat of a rocket, he stands tall and true. All but beautiful, what's a duke to do? Fremen warriors stare while he spins those tracks. Shield belt might be rusty, but he's got that knack. So groovy. Hard and shuffle, the worm knows his name. Mixing spice rhythms with that disco game. Okay. Out in Caledon, Atreides don't know that on the dance floor, Baron steals the show. Your haters gonna hate, but they just can't compete with that bald, beautiful disco beat. Slide your feet, the dance of harkening. Trance, and never be outshone. In the heat of a rocket, he stands tall and true. All but beautiful, what's a duke to do? He's got the dance of harkening. Trance, and never be outshone. In the heat of a rocket, he stands tall and true. All but beautiful, what's a duke to do?
Okay, and we are back now for the giveaway of this little Mr. Harkonnen here. And the first person who is typing in the right answer is going to win. We've got just one of them, and anyone can enter who is at least 18 years old. And there's no restriction in terms of the location you're participating from. So my question is, name the two nephews of Baron Harkonnen.
And spell it correctly.
Oh no.
Full names.
Right of the name. We're not going to torture you.
Yeah, expect.
Let's see. Mojo knows.
You might look like someone who knows Dune.
They're both
Yes.
tall,
Yes.
bold and beautiful.
What's that supposed to mean?
Elephant, no.
Saying nerdy is good.
You might have to post a question in text as well.
Yeah, I hope.
I know there's at least a 5-second delay
Two
on the
nephews, so the two major bad guys from the movies.
So close.
Partially true. But it's a good hint.
I'm just having a hard time.
Rick and Morty is quite a good idea as well. So one had a big final fight with Paul in the movies, and one was portrayed by a former Guardians of the Galaxy actor in the movies. Well, while we wait, why not talk about what's going to come? Oh, okay. We've got a winner. Woohoo!
I'm
Oh,
I've got the full name, but
about 2 seconds later.
I'm pretty okay with Fate Router and Raban without the Glossu. Sorry.
it didn't even get his title. If you're going to give him his first name of Glossu, then you've got to actually get the title of Cat. So, you know.
It's good. Congratulations.
Yay!
It's coming back for you. So maybe you just
This little boldy is going your way.
type a message and
I have the Stogar
and
up on my
name
shelf.
to hello@visitarrakis.com. Oh, that's kind of you. Okay, now let's talk about the Gamescom, which is coming up in 18 days. And again, the program is working against me, which is nice. Or do I just have to wait, maybe, because it's being loaded? It doesn't look like that. It's nice. Nice to see. Yes, I want to replace that image. Oh,
Yay!
how kind of you. Okay, sorry. Sorry for that. Right folder, background images, and here we go. That's a map of the Gamescom booth area. So 18 days to go, and we've got Hall 6 for you to visit. That's the hall of Funcom, where if you're going to be. And yeah, we can say the okay, the next image is still missing as well. How beautiful. And yeah, Hall 6 is the place to go, and we have a look at Hall 6 here. So the event area is pretty large, but we have to say it's shared, or at least organized, by Level Infinite, and Level Infinite is the gaming branch of the parent company of Funcom, which is Tencent. And they're probably showing other games and titles as well, but I guess their big game for Gamescom with the great gameplay reveal is going to be Dune Awakening. And if you're hungry, just left to you on the map is a nice food area where you can eat while you return to more Dune on the booth. And I guess the next image is gone as well. Yes, it is. How nice of you. So what do we know about what's going to be shown? I addressed that to you while I'm searching for more images again.
You broke up a little bit at the end there.
Yeah, so we know there's going to be gameplay. That's going to be fun.
Yes, gameplay.
And Anhira's there as well, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anira's there at the booth, and she's also one of the judges for the cosplay contest, which is running in the cosplay village of Gamescom, as far as I know. And she's going to be at the booth all days during the Gamescom time, as far as I know. And you mentioned gameplay. I'm honestly expecting another trailer for the opening night live. That's something I could imagine, like dropping another gameplay trailer for all the people who are not able to attend Gamescom. Sounds pretty fair, I could imagine.
Maybe post Gamescom. I don't think we'll see it until after.
I think they're going to be very busy in like interviews throughout the whole thing. But they might do. They might give us a little something like extra gameplay peek. I'm not sure, but I know that they're going to be showing the game in some format. Because they've said live gameplay, but whether that means like a developer or member of staff playing it on a console or PC there to show people, having people be able to play a live demo of the game at the booth, or just showing a pre-recorded video of gameplay. We don't know the specifics of it yet. They're not sure. They've not said yet. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting IRL banned by Ignacy. That's something he's really looking forward to doing. God help me. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be quite fun. I'm sure we are going to be finding out a lot more very soon.
Yeah, that's just from Twitter at least indicating that they're going to show it on the public booth. Although we don't know if Natasha was more referring to the first part of this question here. But to me, live gameplay would mean if you're going to show it to people, you're doing it in the public area and then running live instead of just another form of trailer. That's at least my expectations.
I don't think it would be, if they do record it, I don't think it would be shown as a trailer. I think it would be maybe a looped video of this is, running across the desert, or this is combat or whatever. I don't think it'd be trailer format, but it'd be interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite interesting. But yeah, because I'm going to be at Gamescom. That's going to be really fun. If anyone wants to come and see me, come say hi. Please feel free. You can get a sticker for the wiki. As my laptop is demonstrating them back there.
Oh, you can show it if you want to.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see it. Oh, I've got a whole bunch of them. So, whoop. Well, there you go. So you know, there's 4 different stickers that will be given out at Gamescom. So if you want some, please feel free to come by and just ask for some. I'll be handing them out. If I'm lucky, I can get them at the Funcom stall. But who knows what kind of sign off and licensing they need to do that. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Good. So that's pretty much wrapping it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. We've got lots of stuff addressed today, and it's really exciting times for Dune Awakening fans with the Gamescom just around the corner, and today's community update in terms of the community newsletter, which was just released a few hours ago. And better check that out and look at the official website, I guess, which is containing all the content you will enjoy. And yeah, I'm going to say goodbye with a love song inspired from the Dune universe, because why not? In marriages on the Dune. And yeah, I say goodbye and enjoy the last song we have prepared here for you.
Thanks, everyone. Been lovely having you.
Yay.
See you next time.
Golden suns are guide, eyes so deep and blue. I found my love in you. Beneath twin moons glow, in a world so vast we know. Whispers in the sweet desert air, our love we boldly declare. Kiss me like the desert soul, where the spice and secrets roll. Hold me close, my free man king. Together we will rise and sing. Shadows dance on rocky spires, burning with our secret fires. Two hearts beating in the storm. With you I am reborn. Beneath twin moons glow, in a world so vast we know whispers. In a world so vast we know with now we boldly together declare. Kiss me like the desert soul, where the spice and secrets roll. Hold me close, my friend and king. Together we will rise and sing. Kiss me like the desert soul, where the spice and secrets roll. Hold me close, my friend and king. Together we will rise and sing. Kiss me like the desert soul, where the spice and secrets roll. Hold me close, my free man king. Together we will rise and sing. In the sand our footprints fade.